Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us here for the News at 5. I'm Keisha Grant.
And I'm Mike Heideck. But first, should law enforcement be allowed to make arrests at courthouses? State leaders are addressing that question just under a week after an NBC Connecticut camera caught a group of people in tactical gear executing a takedown outside a Hartford Superior Courthouse.
Today, the governor and other leaders are issuing some new policies that partially restrict law enforcement activity at courthouses. Let's get right to NBC Connecticut political reporter Mike Savino for more. Mike, what can you tell us about those new policies?
Well, Mike and Keisha, state officials note there's really little they can do to try to keep ICE out of courthouses, but today they announced some new policies trying to rein in some of those arrests that have been happening inside, ones that Democrats say can be troubling to the legal system.
It's really important that people feel safe going into our courthouses.
Governor Ned Lamont today expressing concern about immigration agents making surprise visits to courthouses and detaining people accused of being in the U.S. without proper legal status. Today, State Supreme Court Justice Raheem Mullins announced new policies for any law enforcement activity inside a court. Arrests require a judicial warrant, not just a detainer, and no agents can wear masks.
Judges, staff, litigants, members of the public, they all must be able to conduct their business in our courthouses without fear of disruption.
Mullins and others say this is to ensure people feel safe coming to a courthouse. They referenced arrests in Stamford Court, which sparked protests last month. This policy does not cover incidents like this caught on camera by NBC Connecticut when law enforcement detained someone outside Hartford Court last week. Either way, Republicans were critical of the new policy.
Yeah, I think that the courts are going in the wrong direction. And this is another theme of continually going after law enforcement at the expense of victims and public safety.
We reached out to ICE this afternoon, but got no response. Connecticut's Trust Act already limits cooperation with immigration agents. Democrats say they're working on legislation to make this new policy into law, too. But what happens if ICE ignores it? Democrats say they're looking at options, but admit they can only go so far.
I think there's a variety of avenues, whether that be sort of some form of civil redress for folks, whether that be a trespassing or breach of peace type maneuver, but certainly we are not going to put our marshals in a situation of an armed standoff with an ICE agent.
Now, Connecticut's 3 federal district courts have their own policy, one that states no outside law enforcement can make arrests inside a federal courthouse. Only U.S. judicial marshals can do that, and even then, they can only make arrests on criminal, not for non-criminal, which is an important distinction because many immigration violations are considered civil, not criminal. Live from the Capitol, Mike Savino, NBC Connecticut News.